Hey guys, Brian here from Topdeck. So today we're bringing you a tier list video. This list was compiled after the events of Euros as well as the Oceanics, as well as my own personal experience with these decks. I've played almost every single deck here to okay level. I wouldn't say I'm good, but yeah, without further ado, let's get right in. So the first two decks we don't really need to think about. The Spright and the Tier, automatically tier 1. From my own personal experience, Tier is stronger than Spright in terms of power level, especially with the advent of the danger cards, and so there's just so much you can innovate with Tier. There's so many different variants with Tier as well as Spright. Spright has the Life Twin version, basically all the level 2 good stuff. And Spright, the consistency as well as the grind game of these two decks puts it at tier 1. It's the new age of Yu-Gi-Oh! It is very powerful, heads and shoulders above every other deck here. Okay, so next up we actually have the Cyberse pair. So we have Mathmech as well as the Jelly Baby deck. I have trouble pronouncing this deck. It's became a kind of meme amongst my friends. It's the Exosister. Oh, got it right. So yeah, I'm gonna call it Jelly Baby from now. So the Jelly Baby deck as well as the Mathmech deck, they're very strong. They're just very good at going first in terms of pushing through hand traps, as well as having multiple lines you can go into to OTK your opponent, namely access code. You can double access code someone if they decide to nib you. It's insane. Both these decks are very good. I'm going to put it right on the top of tier 1.5, maybe in tier 1, just because these decks are so... Mathmech is a little more versatile than the Jelly Baby deck in terms of what they can do. How they could play through hand traps, and maybe they build as well, because the Jelly Baby deck is a little tighter because of they have to fit the Mathmech engine in, because the Mathmech Circulars just does everything for a Cyberse deck. So these are quite good. However, both of them have slightly a worse tier matchup. So I'm going to put them in 1.5 rather than 1. Although they could just creep up there, you know. So, but 1.5, definitely happy with these two Cyberse decks. I love playing them, and they're fairly budget as well. So if you do have, if you do know someone with the core or some vendors selling the core, ask them for the price. Pick it up. It could take you home some locals, some tournaments, if you really learn how to play the deck. Yep, next up we have the Exosisters. I'm actually going to put this in the Rogue category. I love this deck, don't get me wrong, I love this deck. I have this deck myself, I play this deck also myself. However, Martha is the only 1-card combo. I know there's 6 copies, but you have to either draw 2 Exosisters or draw Martha. And then you don't want to draw too many, because you want to have floodgates and other things to help you play turn 1 or to help you push turn 2. This deck is absolutely almost useless going second, especially in the current competitive climate when the turn 1 board is so strong. I don't know how I'm going to play through them. So I'm gonna put Exosisters in Rogue. Maybe if something a more combo or consistent variant comes up, maybe it could push its way to tier 2. Yeah, so Exosister in Rogue. Sky Striker, I'm going to put it at tier 1.5. One of my favorite decks of all time. It is absolutely insane in the good players' hands, such as Ryan Yu, Po Jang. People can say, "Oh yeah, it's just the mind that's making them strong." But if you think about it, mind is a segue into drawing Ray. Every other card goes 1 for 1, and Ray goes 1 for 2, 1 for 3, and then this deck will just out resource you because how strong the engine is. And after 3 spells in the graveyard, it's always 1 for 2, 1 for 2. Yeah, so Sky Striker definitely deserving of that 1.5 spot. However, because of these two decks up here, it is like the power level of the decks have changed. Going 1 for 1 doesn't feel as good as before, such as Despia Swordsoul format. Yeah, so I'm just gonna put Sky Striker here. And then next up, we actually have Altergeist. Altergeist, very good control deck. I'm going to put it right here. Oop, that's not Altergeist. I'm going to put it right here at tier 2. So Altergeist, very strong strategy. It has a, of course, any trap deck is very, very, very strong going first game 1. However, it does suffer the problem that every other back row has, the advent of blowout cards, especially in a board breaker format. It is very hard to play control decks. Same with Striker. I have found very similar problems. People just lightning storm. People have evenly matches. We saw the top 4 of the Euros, I think. They were playing going second, or Tudo going second, Altergeist, so they didn't get absolutely destroyed by back row hate and blowout cards. It is still a very good deck. P.U.N.K is insane. So it's a very, very strong top tier 2 deck, borderline tier 1.5 Altergeist. Pendulum, I always think Pendulum because they just lose to so many things. Nib, anti-spell, now people are even innovating, what is that? Sky Scourge, Invisible. It's like a monster Imperial Order. Like, they lose to so many things. However, it is a very cool deck, especially with Beyond the Pendulum coming out. You can pop 2 cards as like a mini Electromite, but I don't think it pushes anything over the edge. So Pendulum still remains in the rogue slot. I'm going to, and then next up we have Eldlich. Eldlich easily tier 1.5, tier 2, probably a solid 1.5. Eldlich is just such a strong engine coming out of the set of Secret Slayers. People either love it or hate it. There's no question Eldlich is one of the strongest engines in the game. Very recurable, has an amazing grind game. Actually has a very good matchup against a lot of decks. The people ignore the importance of Golden Lord sending a card. That effect is insane. It helps you go in second, like in engine going second. That's amazing. And yeah, 3/5 beat stick on the skill drain, insane. And next up we actually have Phantom Knights. So Phantom Knights, that's a hard one. It used to be such a good deck. So we're going to talk about probably Brave Phantom Knights, or just pure Phantom Knights in general. They're all, it's still strong. I don't think it's quite rogue. But with the loss, I'll put it down to rogue. I'm going to put it in rogue just because the loss of Verte Anaconda really hurt them. Yet they can still scythe lock you. They can still do everything that Phantom Knights used to do. However, they do lose to a lot of graveyard interaction stuff. And right now, Tier is one of the strongest decks, so there are a lot of decks playing graveyard hate. So inadvertently, PK is suffering because of it too. So we're just gonna put it at somewhere near the top of Rogue, maybe tier 2 if we see a change in the competitive climate. Oh, next up we have Despia. Despia, a fan favorite. The lore is awesome. However, it is no longer at its former glory at tier 1. It is at best tier 2. I wouldn't even put it in tier 1.5. The problems that Despia always has are still remain. Losing to an Ash, losing to like D barriers and stuff. I know people have been playing less D barriers because of the Cyberse decks. Links are very strong. But yeah, the power level of this deck is still not quite there. However, it is the very strong engine. I remember when it first came out, I was thinking, wow, this is the strongest engine in the game. Now they just power crept it with these two. But I'm going to put it above Altergeist just because I think it could do a little more. However, you can't innovate as much with it. So maybe it will catch less people by surprise. The Rikka Sunavalon deck. So the Rikka deck, also around the top of tier 2. I would not put it in tier 1. Yeah, I'll actually put it in tier 1.5. Yeah, €1, but it doesn't mean it's amazing deck. Marcus Patel was an amazing player, is an amazing player, and just because he won with a deck doesn't mean that the deck is good. But one card combos with not too many bricks is everyone's favorite. You can fit so many more things in, such as mine, such as rivalry. You can adapt the deck to a format, and it doesn't really lose to the things that Tier and Spright loses to. So that's why Rikka Sunavalon has such a good time in the format. So it's a solid tier 1.5 maybe. We're just gonna put it right behind the Cyberse decks. Yeah. And then next up is DDD. Also one of my top decks that I like to play. Is very complicated. However, right now it's just bad, man. It's just bad. It used to be so strong when Gilgamesh first came out and the Zeus Machine King dude. Right now it's not doing too much, especially with all these decks up here. Back in the Swordsoul Despia format, it still had a competing chance because people didn't know what to do, and like there's lowest board breakers. This deck surprisingly loses so hard, well not surprisingly, but loses so hard to board breakers. One Dark Ruler, one evenly, and you're absolutely destroyed. And then I did try the other version. I was playing that list for the longest time, the Synchro DDDs. You do put up more Omni Negates, however you just lose to hand traps. So maybe you lose to Dark Ruler even more. It's just pick your poison. And right now I really think it is not good to take it to a tournament. Prove me wrong. I would love to be proven wrong, but right now I think it's just locals friendly. I wouldn't take it to a tournament. Next up we have Runick. Wow, an amazing deck coming out of Tactical Masters. I really want to put it in tier 1 just because of how insane the deck is. Itself, as well as all the variants, are insane. So me personally, I play Runick Spright. There's pure Runick that's very good. There's Runick Striker that I'm currently testing, and I'm also testing a very, very spicy idea. It's Runick Musketeers, Magical Musketeers. I didn't put it in the tier list because it's probably not good, but I'm testing it out right now. But yeah, so Runick's very strong deck. It's probably the strongest alternative win condition we had in a very, very long time. It aims to deck people out and through a control kind of play style. The most broken thing is the field spell as well as its fusions. You can protect it anytime you want. It's not once per turn. With any of the quick play spells, you can protect your anything you have from destruction as long as your EMZ is free. Yeah, so Runick's very, very, very strong. I'll put it in tier 1 just because of how insane the cards are, and then hopefully in the near future some of them will get limited, so it just becomes a splashable engine rather than a pure deck, because playing against a pure deck is just not fun. Right, you just get control, get banished. It's like playing against Sky Striker. One person's having a lot of fun, another is not really, because you don't get to do anything. Yeah. Next up, we have my personal favorite, all-time favorite deck, Madolche's. I'm actually no bias. I'm actually gonna put it in tier 2 above Exosisters, maybe even in the somewhere near here, just because Brave. So Adventure is slightly falling out of the format. The most I see the Fateful Adventure engine is in Spright. In some versions of Spright, they still play the Fateful Adventure stuff, and then Draco back is what made Madolche unplayable for me. Ever since the Fateful Adventure came out, I have stopped playing Madolches. But however, Madolche one card combo, as well as the lines to OTK, continuous access to an Omni Negate every single turn. It is very, very, very strong. I really, but I wouldn't be doing my viewers justice if I put it on tier 1.51, because we probably can't beat this deck. We can probably beat Eldlich. It has a very good Eldlich matchup, very good striker match, in an okay striker matchup. It plays very okay into all these decks in the current format, and it doesn't really lose to board breakers just because of the Omni Negate every single turn, as well as if they Dark Ruler you and crack your board, you can just do it all again next turn with one card. So yeah, Madolche, very, very strong. Shout outs to my Madolche duelists. I see you guys going on tier list and commenting down below. Oh, Western, one day Madolche will be appreciated. Madolche is an insane deck. Hopefully it will get more support, like Ghost Tricks have been doing. We got Salon, and Salon was kind of insane support, but I rather a better version of gelato or pudding, so we don't have to draw them. Yeah. But yeah, that's enough about Madolche's. A solid tier 2 deck. Not rogue, definitely not rogue. You'll expect to see me on this deck for the next few weeks while there's no big events coming on. I'm just gonna be winning some locals. You know what I mean? Yeah. So next up we have Floowandereeze, a deck made straight from hell. Well, I'm gonna put it at a solid tier. I'm actually just gonna put it as a tier 2 deck. In my own personal experience, it has a very similar power level to Madolche's, with with being more focused on controlling and floodgates rather than one card OTK. So these two are very similar in my opinion. It is more a meta core. So both Plunder as well as Madolche play okay into tier, but less good into Spright. The barrier statue is always an issue for a lot of decks, so it's a solid tier 2 deck. I will not put it at 1.5 just because if you need to play 6 pots in an engine, the engine's probably inconsistent and if you take it to a tournament with so much variance going on, you're not going to see the cards you want to see all the time. However, that being said, the engine is very, very, very strong, very recurable. It will outgrow your opponent if they just let you have a turn or two, and that's why it's a very solid tier 2 deck. Next up, we have Life Twin. I'll put it in tier 2 too. If it's a Spright variant, I'll actually put it up to here with tier 1. All the Spright variants with the level 2 good stuff is insane, right? So Life Twin Spright variant, it is actually it pushes through hand traps a lot better. However, it does lose a bit more to board breakers. But talking about pure Life Twins, it still plays like 15 to 18 hand traps, and it has the ability to grind to in-engine out a lot of things because of the Trouble Sunny in the graveyard. I'll actually put it in one of the solid tier 2. It is a very solid tier 2. However, right now, if you're not playing it with Spright, I don't know what you're doing. You probably can't afford the Spright cards, so fair enough. But it is very fragile. It is a very fragile deck. If they disrupt your normal summon, if they just have 2 hand traps or 1 board breaker, you pretty much just all the fruits of your labor is gone. So yeah, it's a tier 2 deck. Play with Spright is what I'm saying. Just play with Spright. P.U.N.K, one of my friend's favorites, P.U.N.K deck, the pure P.U.N.K deck, or P.U.N.K tier. P.U.N.K tier, of course, any of these variants, they're always all tier 1. But for these ones, we'll just talk about their pure version. So pure P.U.N.K, very strong, plays very well going first, can search a ton of hand traps, can bounce your whole board back if you're playing back row. If they go first and you set 5 against them, all of them are going back to your hand. So P.U.N.K is a very good rogue strategy. I would not tier it, just because if you have the nib, they just lose. If you have nib, they straight up lose. There is a way to play around it, but it's just really bad. Like, the deck is cool, it does a lot of things. However, if you have things that you auto lose to, or you can self TK, that's terrible. It's terrible for a deck. It's probably at the very top of Rogue in my opinion. My friend who pilots this deck is very good. So I did at one point think, wow, it's a tier 2, tier 1.5 deck. When I was practicing for Oceanics, I was practicing against the P.U.N.K the most, and then yeah, he kind of went X3 and dropped. So not too good. No, X3 by round 3. Bye bye. So yeah, it's a rogue deck. I wouldn't take it to any large tournaments if you do value your money, if you want a better chance to win. Yeah, rogue. And Swordsoul, I'm actually going to put it in the tier 1.5. People think Swordsoul has gotten weaker, but Swordsoul is still one of the best decks out there. The engine is still very strong, and in a board breaker kind of format, they're allowed to roam free, right? You just go, you go second, or you go first. You go first, you set up a pretty good board. You get Dark Ruler, whatever. They can set up Baron first turn. You need 2 board breakers to break it. Like Chi with Blackout plus hand traps. That's pretty good. And if you're going second, the 10-yi cards are still doing 10-yi card things. And Baxia, still insane card going second. Plays very well into the tier, so you're not really outing it. And even against the Cyberse decks, you have this big Chengiz. So the Sovereign Chenging. He's very good into a lot of situations. Swordsoul, I'll actually put it, in my own personal opinion, I'll actually say it's slightly stronger than Rikka in terms of the engine itself. I miss playing Swordsoul. I love playing Swordsoul. Protoss ban was way too early. However, Protoss should be banned. So good job, Konami. Alistar, I'm not top deck Steven, so we're just gonna put it right there. Alistar, really, it was a really good deck at the start. Alistar, Dogmatica, whatever, Shadow, whatever you play, it is a very cool deck. However, I really think the power level has just gone so far beyond Ash me, right? Now Ash just feels bad, right? Ash doesn't feel as good as before. So Alistar probably like bottom of Rogue or something. Like you set up one Omni Negate, cool. And if you draw the Nadir Servant, the 2 of Nadir Servant, you're like, cool, I have a Nadir Servant. I get 1 more pop, 1 more negate. That's 2 cards to generate 2 interactions. I don't like that. That's one Spright. Oh, 1 level 2 plus 1 Spright. Insane. 1 Halfness, insane. 1 Ray, insane. 1 Moyi, insane. You can't just have 1 card generate 1 thing. Yeah, you want 1 card generate many things. And look at Prime Prank Kids, Adventure Prank Kids. That was insane. Why? Because 1 card equals double Raigeki, follow up, plus 1000 life points, burn 500, draw 1. It's crazy. And Alistar, not too good. Cyber Dragon, also just locals friendly. I always wanted to play Cyber Dragons. I have the core sitting in my binder for ages, but I just never felt good enough. I have seen people when Spright was all the rage. I have seen people side Cyber Dragon, and then they linked the elf into a Chimera, attack over the Toad. It was really cool. Cyber Dragon is probably, I'll put it at Rogue. Just because it is a pretty consistent deck. It is very adept at OTKing. If you see it and you don't respect it, you probably just die there on the spot. So yeah, above Alistar though, 1 for 1, terrible. One Cyber Dragon core still does more than an Alistar. No hate to Alistar, he's a very cool card, but power crept, very power crept. Labrynth, you guys all know I love my Labrynth. I actually put it in the tier 2. It is stronger. It is very strong, stronger than all the rogue decks here, I believe. Maybe in the same level, power level as Altergeist. Right now the deck is still missing its big boss monster, the Lady of the Labyrinth. And like the Slifer Trap is coming out, so the Slifer Trap will probably make a big difference as well in the deck. It is a normal trap, resettable, and summons a Floodgate, draw 6, insane, right? So Labrynth, it has a better, it's like Eldlich. It's almost like an Eldlich deck. However, Eldlich just grinds a lot more. This deck doesn't really have a grind game if you don't get your engine going. But once you get your engine going, it is stronger than... Once you get your engine going, it's tier 1.5. But the issue is to get your engine going initially. If they actually welcome Labrynth, it really hurts. If they cosmic your Labrynth really hurts. So it's only a tier 2 and not tier 1.5. In terms of the adventure engine, it's kind of fallen out of favor. However, it is still very strong. The adventure engine, very scared. It's what made Rikka Sunavalon good. It makes a lot of decks here good. So I'm going to put adventure. I'm sure you guys all know, very strong, tier 1.5. Plunder Patrol. It just recently came out with Master Duel. It has, right now, it's not really the meta for it because the top few decks, they don't really have a lot of attributes. When we see this pop up is when Swordsoul was around, when a lot of attributes are being used. So Plunder Patrol had a great time. Having all these options to go into in the extra deck with Blackbeard. So yeah, so we're going to put it right now in the current format. It is just locals friendly. It's not doing much against Spright here or anything. Yeah. Dragon Link straight up, probably the top tier 2. I wouldn't put it in tier 1. Whoop. Yeah, I wouldn't put it in tier 1 just because right now it's not too good. Again, power scaling above, probably got outdone. Loses to hand traps, breaks a little as well. It's not too good. I'll actually put it in tier 1.5. Never mind, because I had a look at the list and Dragon Link probably beats these in terms of power level. We're not saying like if this deck beats this deck is better than that deck. Because there could be good matchups, bad matchups, but we're talking about pure power level. Power level of Dragon Link very high. We can put it right here. You can see, yeah, power of Dragon Link very high. You can still see your representation. Other than that, like dragon stuff. It might get better because the new set is coming with the Banish Light and Dark from your opponent's graveyard dragons. Yeah, those are really cool. Probably will help out the Dragon Link strategy. So I already picked up my set of Chaos Space and all the other little Dragon Link support. I'm foreseeing this will be a very good deck next format. Salamangreat, yeah, it was kind of good when Despia Swordsoul format, but again, power scaling. These decks don't lose to hand traps as much. And this grind game is cool, but doesn't really do much. I'll actually put it in Rogue, somewhere near the top of Rogue. Salad, yeah. Marincess. Anyone who plays Marincess, hats off to you. I like you guys. I don't really like the deck. It seems like just a Towers deck to me. Doesn't really do much, so I'm going to put it at locals friendly. I would not take it to a tournament. Yeah. So now we have the last deck. It is Virtual World. Virtual World. I never liked the deck because of its consistency. I feel like I always get unlucky. So we're gonna put Virtual World right here, tier 2. It's a very strong deck. It has a lot of good matchup against like a lot of these decks. However, the consistency, the power of the engine is just again power crept. So we're just gonna leave it at that. As you guys can see, it's a very diverse format with the tier. These three are tier 1, or in my opinion, are tier 1. However, you see all the tier 1.5s, all the tier 2s, they have a chance to win against the top decks. All the top decks here can lose to everything down at tier 2 or Rogue, or even locals friendly. Yeah, very healthy format. However, it's not as interactive as I like it to be. It's a lot of the decks are. It's not your turn. It's our turn. So yeah, this format. We'll see what happens after the Mega Tints as well as the Ishizu stuff comes out. But yeah, this has been Brian from Topdeck talking about the tier list. Comment down below if you would like to see me talk about other issues Comment down below the issues you would like me to talk about. But yeah, this is Brian from Topdeck, out.